Imagine waking up in ancient Rome and realizing you've somehow landed in the original Fight Club, except there's no secret. Everyone's watching and losing means death. Gladiators have become icons thanks to films like Spartacus and Gladiator, which paint them as tragic heroes fighting for freedom and honor. But strip away the cinematic glow and the truth is far harsher. A brutal mix of discipline, fear, and survival instinct. Gladiator schools weren't grand academies of valor. They were factories of violence, part prison, part gym, part spectacle. Survival depended not on your luck, but on mastering the system, and learning when to fight, when to yield, and how to endure. And for those who don't know, welcome to Chronos History, where we break down the greatest moments in history and turn them into greater stories. Whether you're bored, learning, or somewhere in between, we've got something cooked up for you to keep you entertained. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. A gladiator was, at their core, a professional fighter, a blend of athlete, performer, and commodity. Most were slaves, prisoners of war, or criminals forced into the role, though some free men volunteered, gambling their lives for fame or money. Once recruited, they trained in special schools called ludi, where every day revolved around drills, discipline, and pain. Contrary to popular myth, gladiators didn't always fight to the death. They were expensive instruments, and organizers wanted to keep them alive. Each fighter type had a defined style and weapon set. The heavily armored Murmillo, the agile Ritiarius with his net and trident, and the Thrax with curved blades and lighter armor. Every match was a performance, brutal but choreographed, showcasing Roman ideals of courage and strength. Still, there was a slim chance of freedom. Exceptional fighters could earn a rudis, a wooden sword symbolizing release from service, but for most, that dream stayed out of reach. Modern culture turned them into heroic icons, but in truth, they were trained assets, exploited, disciplined, and admired, all at once. Becoming a gladiator was rarely a choice. Most were slaves or prisoners of war pulled into the system after Rome's endless conquests. Captives were brought, evaluated for strength, and sent to training schools like products on a shelf. Owners could send any slave to fight if they thought he would draw a crowd. Criminals were another source, the damnati ad ludos, or condemned to the games. It was punishment worse than execution: fight and maybe live or die in disgrace. Then there were the auctorati, that were volunteers, free citizens who signed contracts to fight for money or fame. They received pay and some celebrity, but legally belonged to their school's owner for the duration of the contract. They had traded rights for risk, and maybe a shot at glory. Once recruited, trainees entered the ludus, a world of strict control. Veteran trainers, or doctores, taught combat, timing, and discipline. Each fighter specialized in a particular style, like mentioned above, turning the arena into a show of skill rather than chaos. Success required technique, endurance, and certainly nerves of steel. A gladiator school was a mix between a military camp and a prison. The Ludus Magnus in Rome, next to the Colosseum, was the most famous. It was a fortified complex with barracks, courtyards, and training grounds. Fighters lived in cramped cells under constant watch, and leaving without permission definitely wasn't an option. Each day began with drills, conditioning, and weapon practice. Trainees started with wooden swords and wicker shields before progressing to real weapons. Every fight was designed for spectacle, a mix of discipline and danger, not just mindless slaughter. But the ludus itself was full of hazards. Injuries were constant, discipline was brutal, and tempers ran high. Fights between trainees weren't rare, and the psychological toll broke many before they even reached the arena. To survive, a gladiator had to be smart as well as strong. Obeying rules avoided punishment, and mastering techniques earned respect and better treatment. Protecting one's health was crucial. Even a small wound could be fatal later, and reputation mattered. Crowd favorites were often spared, their fame turning them into valuable assets. Building alliances inside the school also helped. Survival was rarely a solo effort. The ludus wasn't just a training ground, it was a machine that shaped men into entertainment. Every move, every scar, every performance served its purpose. To live through it, a gladiator needed more than skill. He needed control, resilience, and the will to turn survival itself into an art form. Being a gladiator was basically living on hard mode. Sure, the school was safer than the arena, but between injuries, disease, and random punishments, every day felt like a dice roll with death. These guys lived in a constant ready-to-die mindset, and the twist? Well, the same arena that could end you instantly could also make you famous, rich, or even free. After finishing training in the Ludus, you didn't just spawn into the Coliseum. Owners had invested heavily, so throwing rookies straight into a deathmatch was bad business. The debut was carefully planned. Survival came first and profit second. New fighters didn't start in front of 50,000 screaming Romans. Their first bout was more like a small-town warm-up, a test to see if they could perform, follow the rules, and not freeze under pressure. Despite their reputation, not every fight ended in death. Most first matches, the Tirocinium, were skill showcases rather than killfests. Gladiators were expensive assets, so owners usually paired rookies with balanced opponents or used group fights that were part show, part sparring. These early battles were about testing skills and building confidence, and not really about body counts. If a fighter impressed the crowd, fame followed, and fame meant survival. Popular gladiators became celebrities, fans demanded encores, and organizers wanted to keep them alive. Even losing could work in your favor, but granted you did it dramatically enough. But luck still ruled everything. Some died in their first match just because the crowd wanted blood or the organizer needed more of the wow factor. Your debut was basically a life or death audition. Once past rookie status, a gladiator's life turned into a mix of pro sports and reality TV. Victories, style, and crowd appeal determined your fate. The Lanista treated popular fighters like walking investments. The more the audience loved you, the higher the profits. But still, every show needed a little bit of blood. Fighting well mattered, but obviously survival mattered more. Gladiators could meet several endings: death in the arena, career-ending injuries, or, on rare occasions, freedom with the Rudis, a symbol of retirement. Some veterans even became trainers, teaching new recruits how to not die instantly. Like we mentioned before, every fighter had a class. The Murmillo was the tank, heavy armor, huge shield, slow but tough. The Ricciarius was the agile one with the net and trident, while the Secutor was his armored counter. The Thrax fought fast and flashy with a curved sword, and the Hoplomachus fought in Greek style with spear and shield. And the Bestiarius drew the short straw, battling wild animals. Matchups were crafted for spectacle: heavy versus nimble, sword versus spear, never too predictable. The games included solo duels, group fights, animal hunts, and even fake naval battles where they flooded the whole arena. Chaos was part of the fun. Mindless aggression got you killed, however. The crowd wanted a slow show, not a slaughter. Each gladiator had to play their role, fight smart, and sell the drama. And like we know, sometimes losing with flair was better than winning youngly. Winning the crowd's favor could save your life, but losing it totally sealed your fate. A gladiator's life was a paradox, constant danger mixed with the dream of glory. Every fight balanced art and death, strength and showmanship. To survive, you had to be both warrior and performer, because in Rome, the crowd decided who lived long enough to become a legend. And that's all for today, guys. If you liked this video, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel, as it helps us a lot. Leave a comment with your favorite gladiator class and who you would like to be if you were stuck in a gladiator school. And until next time, see you again on Chronos History.